Hails guys, I'm Metalore and I'm here today with Elizabeth Gore and Roxy Burial here at Throwback Thursdays. Today's topic is black metal and UnBlack Metal. And for this special episode, we have the lovely guys from Casket, Mr. Pete Bucci and Mr. Zach Juarez. Talk a little bit about, just when I heard it for the first time, I was like, black metal, and then there's UnBlack Metal? Like, I had no idea that that existed.
Yeah.
Me neither. When did you guys discover it, or how did you discover that?
I actually came across UnBlack Metal a couple years ago. Just browsing YouTube, always digging deeper, trying to find something else. And then one day I came across this compilation that said UnBlack Metal, and I was like, okay, I'll buy it. Click on it, and it's like all these, it's basically like Christian music, but with a black metal face.
Right,
so,
yeah.
like how they're all wearing corpse paint and spikes.
And inverted crosses still sometimes.
Yeah, but they'll even use goat horns. But
Blood.
yeah, they use the same
The
thing.
style is the same thing.
Yeah, same
Style is
violent
the
imagery.
Yeah.
Same.
It's just in lyrical
style of-
content
just
that is the
lyrical.
difference,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've read lyrically, I kind of split it into two different categories. There's the Bible bashers, and then on the other side, they're the guys that kind of use the Bible like under like as a platform kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not really totally in your face about the Bible, but they also use it as a source for their philosophical ideas.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like, what was that band we listened to on the way here?
Oh, you guys were listening to.
Yeah, well, we listened to
so,
Ancestor,
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Horde,
Or, yes.
Frost like ashes.
yeah, this band called Keckle. I believe
Oh,
it was.
Keckle, yeah, it's
and
Keckle.
they had this song that was called Scriptures Before Suffering or something like, or Struggle.
Yeah, Struggle.
Yeah.
Some of it sounds badass, but it's deceiving.
Yeah.
It's not.
But you know
it's
what?
not
What I found with Admonish and Admonish, I believe is the name. Some of their lyrics were, were quite poetic, and it wasn't straight to the point in Christianity.
Yeah.
I thought there were some beautiful lyrics
Yeah.
there. You know, they.
It's a nice break from "Spill the blood of the goat and
Yeah.
kill the virgin and Satan."
It really is, and I'm sorry.
Well, just from reading the lyrics, you can tell that these words are coming from like really considerate people. They're really good people.
They're really good. Yeah.
And they're just, it's almost like they're trying to inspire and
Yeah, they're
delight.
right.
Unevil anti-Satanism.
I personally don't have a problem with black metal.
Yeah.
Do you guys have an issue?
At this point, I don't really care what anybody does. Even with regular black metal, I just don't care. So much of it, even UnBlack Metal, it's all cookie cutter
That's so black metal.
nonsense.
He
It's all
doesn't
the-
care.
It's all the same. Oh yeah, such a rebel.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they want to do it. I don't care. I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna listen to it, but
Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
yeah, but I won't lie. On the way up here, there were some pretty good riffs.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know.
And I have to agree with Zach. I mean, from a musical standpoint, the music is great. I mean, on the bands that are Bible bashing,
Yeah.
the lyrics are like, no.
Yeah.
But the more poetic bands I find more enjoyable to listen to, especially since they do a lot of interesting stuff with the music, like the addition of female vocals.
Yeah.
And
That's really interesting.
they still have that. Some of them still have that really raw, tape recorder in the middle of the room, black metal quality, which is cool.
Let's go a little bit into the black metal. I mean, I remember that when I discovered black metal, the first band I've ever heard was Burzin. And then obviously I found Bathory, Venom, Immortal, and I just kind of fell in love with it more and more and more. When was the first time you, let's start with Pete, discovered black metal?
My gateway to black metal was actually like a lot of the early D-beat bands, like Discharge, even I want to say Motorhead as well. A lot of the crust punk bands like Amoebics, Crass, and then like just randomly I stumbled across Venom one day, and I thought that was really cool. And so I started listening to a lot of the first wave bands. As far as the second wave goes, what got me into that was actually seeing Call of the Winter Moon on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. At first, they're like, "Whoa, this is a cool song." But I think what really hooked me was hearing the Mysteries Dom Satanas for the first time, because it was just by Mayhem.
Yeah.
Because it was just so atmospheric and melodic
It
and aggressive.
It brings you
and raw. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like music that takes me somewhere. And
Yeah.
that album takes me places.
Yeah. No, it's true. And
Yeah.
when you said that, Mayhem really makes you travel with them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And what about you, Roxy? What are your thoughts on black metal, or the first time, or if you've even really been into black metal?
I never thought about black metal, but started listening to Dirección, and I don't know, I really like good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just local.
And what about like lyrical content? Like,
It's really passionate.
yeah.
I don't have to express it. It's just
Black.
just black.
What about?
Never go back.
Once you go black, you never go back.
You never go back.
What about you, Miss Core?
I think the first black metal I heard was Sarcophago, and that's pretty extreme to start out with. You know, Jesus Christ disgust, fuck you, Jesus Christ. Like it was pretty brutal.
Alright.
And from there I started looking up more black metal bands, and I found that I kind of gravitated away towards, you know, the really I guess brutal black metal, like what Sarcophago is, and I found Bathory, and they are my favorite band of all time. I love the atmosphere. I love the lyrical content. It's just the
So
expression. It's absolutely poetic, and it's my kind of darkness, you know.
What about you, Zach?
I remember the exact day too. That's funny because of course, like everyone, the precursor to all that's gonna be stuff like something fast. But for me, it was like Slayer, and I remember this goes back to like 2005, 2006, being on like a website where you can make your own music station, and I just input stuff like Slayer and things like that. And one day, Immortal came up, the song "Within the Dark Mind," and I just sat there and I was blown away by how heavy it was, and I never really heard vocals that way before. So it was when I was still buying music off iTunes before everything was illegal. I downloaded like half the album, and the next day the rest of it, and never really looked back after that.
Yeah.
I remember when I first heard Sons of Northern Darkness, it like really reached into my soul. Like you're just rocking back and forth in your chair. Like this is nothing that I had ever heard before, even from listening to brutal death metal.
Yeah, it beats the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just has so much. I think people get mad, but I don't care. I think it has so much more than death metal can ever
Substance.
contribute. Yeah, there's so much more depth and volume.
There's
I think it's layered. More I see Pete's already skeptic.
Go ahead, finish.
I'm gonna bait him. But because for me, it was never really the technical side of music that pulled me in. I was always more for the atmosphere.
Atmosphere and the philosophy
Yeah.
aspect.
The emotion too.
The emotions.
Yeah.
That's what always hooked me. Immortal's my favorite band. So.
Immortal is
Amazing.
Epic.
Well, I do agree with my associate on the other side of the table. As much as black metal has all the elements you just mentioned, death metal still also has a lot of those elements, and they share the same lineage,
Background.
more or
yes,
less. Yeah,
yes.
I mean, you can ask a lot of old school death metal heads, and they'll say like, you know,
Hardcore punk.
Yeah, hardcore. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like bands like Amebix, for example, and that branched off into like the more weirder death metal bands that kind of contributed to black metal in some way. A lot of these early black metal bands started off as death metal bands.
Yes, and then they transcended over because they were hearing what the United States was forming, and then Venom finally got to them up in Sweden and Norway.
Yep.
Yeah, you make a really good point. I really enjoy death metal, but in this case, I'm with Zach. It's just the black metal what took me in after hearing Prism, then I got into Immortal, and I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, he scared the shit out of me. But at the same time, and then I saw his interview, and he was the nicest, funniest guy, and
They're
but what-
highly intelligent.
But
That's the
exactly,
thing.
I was gonna go on. What took me in was the intelligence, the layers, like Zach said, there's so many layers, and it makes
Like
you
onions.
feel, yes, like an onion.
I like onions.
And it does make you really kind of go deep inside your own soul and find that light or darkness, and it's pretty impactful, man.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what's up with the bullets and the chains and
Okay, the imagery. Let's talk about the imagery.
I think to me it's pretty obvious. This whole leather spikes, bullets shit, it all came from Rob Halford. It caught on, and you know,
Because it's also a shock factor. It's anti-media.
it was provocative at the time.
It was very
So then, you know, you had them, then all of a sudden you got Saxon coming onto
Mhm,
it.
exactly.
And Savantage, they all started doing it, and from there it just spread like wildfire.
I want to kind of go into the sense of when Varg, you know, Burzum and all these things started happening, as far as the church burnings, the hate that really started transcending the music into real life. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that style of I guess that stereotype is really old and pretty much it's out of date now.
Mhm.
It's not really, at least I wouldn't look at bands that way.
Yeah.
Even back then, the guys in Mayhem and everyone doing that stuff, it was all pretty stupid.
Yeah.
It was all really stupid. Even Abbott is would say, I'm paraphrasing, but you can burn a church down, but they'll put it right back up with your
Exactly.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the government's money.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to go to jail.
Exactly.
yeah.
So I think it's pretty pointless, and especially those churches were almost thousands of years old.
It didn't.
Yeah,
They were-
it didn't
burn-
matter to
yeah.
them.
They were
though,
beautiful
like, what-
structures.
Those are like national landmarks.
What
Yeah.
Varg,
Yeah.
what Varg wanted to explain was that Christianity had nothing to do with their history, and that's why they wanted to take it down.
But at the same time, it was so, like you said, idiotic, because obviously you knew that really wasn't going to impact anything.
Yeah.
It's like if you,
Oh,
for
it
any
did?
reason,
I think it put a scar on the Norwegian people, definitely.
I don't think it. I mean, I
for
get it.
small time, they didn't get as much public exposure as they thought they would. They were just put in jail, and people forgot about it.
To me, it's more like you're kind of showing your ignorance in the aspect of, like, if you are going to go protest outside and you're going to go scream at people your own opinion, that makes you so much more ignorant than if you can have an intellectual peace with them and realize that no matter what your opinion is, there's different ways to fight for it, and there's different, you shouldn't have to.
Actually, the
Just not
cross in
people.
red up is a Christian sign word. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean devil or nothing.
Yeah, so-
it's Christian.
That's a
but
common
not a lot
misconception.
of people know that.
No, not a
It's
lot
just
of
like
people
I
do.
just wear it because I'm satanic.
And also, if you think about it, what Varg wanted to do with their militant group Christian Sun, Helvet, Milieu, like
Yeah.
they were commercializing it, and I think that's what started. That's completely
That's
against what they
true.
ever
Exactly,
wanted.
and they're 110% against the commercialization of their music.
Yeah.
So why would
These
you
peop-
bring media exposure
And
to
I-
yourself? Why would you want to let any unblack, unworthy people even know about your music?
And it's funny because Burzum really became one of, like, a really mainstream black metal band. I
Yeah.
mean, like, everyone knows Burzum. What do you guys think? Music should just be music, or should music somewhat be involved in political aspects?
I'm not Dave Mustaine. I don't really give a shit about politics. If people really want to enter that world, more power to them. But I would rather just make the music, and I think it's sometimes even for black metal, it's a dimension that doesn't even really need to be
Yeah.
traveled into.
Exactly.
There's certain elements that you need to keep to. If you keep going out of it, you're gonna turn into something else.
Yeah,
What about
Turn to
you,
white
Bucci?
metal.
I totally agree with Zach because
Yeah.
I've noticed this growing trend in the death metal
Yeah,
scene.
too.
Whether it be Dying Fetus, who I love, or like a band like The Faceless, who I
Yeah.
also love. The music is great, but if they're entering those political or metaphysical or spiritual fields, and they're pushing that, and that is what they actually believe in, I think that should be that should stay out of the music.
Separated.
Because what you're doing is you're dividing your fan groups. Like you have all these people who believe in David Icke going to see The Faceless, along with the musicians, and that's dividing your crowd.
That's really interesting.
But do you think that having politics in music is also very important as well? Because you're also waking up the public. You're waking up the public who's maybe a little bit more estranged, who maybe is a little bit more awake Like that's also an entry to.
This is my problem with that, is the fact that if I'm saying that I need to awaken you, I'm already saying that I basically know more than you, and who am I to really say that? And at the same time, it feels like I'm basically telling you my opinion and my belief should be yours. And I think people should think for themselves.
That's
Very good
I'd
point.
have to agree with that.
What would you consider, how would you consider right now the black metal scene locally? What do you guys think about it?
Oh, you
Okay,
have
let's-
something
Oh,
to say.
I-
Let's start with it.
I think, honestly, I think the black metal scene in this area sucks. I think a lot of the bands in the scene suck. I think a lot of them sound the same. They all have their inspirations and they're copying them verbatim.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
forming this cookie cutter neighborhood of bands, and you know, all the bands that are different, they're gonna drown in this sea of mediocrity. So,
Isn't that kind of what happened with the Norwegian bands anyway?
oh yeah, of course, there's tons of them that they all just started playing the same thing. Oh, we all need to sound like Mayhem.
But it's
Yeah.
not.
Same
But
thing
it's
in
not
Sweden.
okay that they're
Yeah.
now copying the grandfathers.
Yeah, like it's cool. Like when every band starts off, they're all going to start somewhere, and I think it's cool to pay homage to them at first. But eventually, you gotta stray away from that, and you need to do your own
Evolve.
thing. But if they have like 6, 7 songs down the line and they still sound the same, something's wrong.
I think it's self-destructive
So-
to their metal.
Well, yeah, I think it sucks.
What about you, Bucci, about the local metal?
Uh,
Black metal scene?
Unfortunately, I'd have to agree with Zach because we wouldn't be making the kind of music we make in Casket if we didn't believe that. I also believe that like what Zach said, a lot of the music is getting really cookie cutter. I mean, before we even came onto the scene with our first demo, we used to go see the local bands play at like the Boulevard or whatever, and we see like 6 black metal bands in a row, and there's like no.
Distinction.
Yeah, exactly. There's no distinction. Everyone sounds like, we're trying to sound like Dark Throne
Yeah,
or
Dark Throne.
Gorgoroth, old Gorgoroth or whatever. We're gonna all sound with, like, we're all gonna scream our vocals and wear corpse paint and wear spikes all over the damn place, And for a while it was cool, but like nowadays it's like, come on guys, get moving.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have to fuse with another genre, do something different. That's why I like bands like Swords of Death, because when you get that black metal with the death metal with the thrash and the sludge elements, and now more recently the psychedelic thing. That's why I like bands like Vulder, because you get this that black metal production, but you get the militant like drumming of brutal death metal and etc. I think it's definitely getting more cookie cutter. I'd like to see more different music coming out of LA, and I want to see less of the same shit over and over again.
Yes. That's
If
true.
it's always the same stuff, it's never gonna progress.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool if bands want to play that. If they're content with sounding like everybody else, more power to them.
Yeah.
But
I have no problem with that either.
Well, I personally really enjoyed having you guys here because you guys are very intellectual, very, very nice people overall, and with really good opinions, and that's what we want to hear. We want to hear everyone's opinions. And for you guys out there, give us your opinions. Tell us what you think about black metal, unblack metal, cookie cutter, not, should it progress, should it not, And while you're out there, listen to Casket, because they're fucking great. So, thank you guys for joining us. Stay tuned for TBT and all the rest of the topics. We have opinions and we want to hear yours. So, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Casket. This has been Throwback Thursdays with Casket.
Yo!